Sure shot, baby!
So, good day, everyone. We're here for another episode of the DVD show. So, for today, for the second time here on the podcast, we have analyst and also a coach here in the Philippines, and currently an assistant coach of the Ateneo Eaglets. And I'll now welcome here to the DVD show again, Enzo Flojo. Thank you for joining me here on my podcast.
Thank you so much again, Diego, for the invite. And it's a great topic. I'm sure you're gonna explain what the topic is, and
Yeah.
something we're all excited about, diba?
Yeah, so yun, for all the viewers now, the topic is we're gonna preview the college season, college basketball season, and I'm pretty sure all of you are excited because we haven't seen these players play for like 2.5 years or 2 years, and a lot of new faces that I'm personally maybe unfamiliar with. Like I've only watched them a couple of games, so I invited Enzo to explain what to expect from the UAAP and NCAA respectively, as they will open on Saturday, March 26. So to start things off, Enzo, ikaw naman, how excited are you? And ikaw, analyst ka, nagko-coach ka rin. Ikaw, gaano ka excited ka naman with the resumption of both the UAAP and NCAA on the same day pa?
Well, I'm absolutely excited, like what you said, though. Just the fact that the last time we saw either league in action was way back in 2019, diba? So,
Oh, matagal na.
if you're counting back, that's 2 full years of not having gritty, in a sense, pure amateur basketball action, diba? I mean, there's something really beautiful about, let's say, Gilas, PBA, the NBA. But when you watch the UAAP or the NCAA, especially in the Philippine context, diba, there's a sense of community and sense of belonging, especially if you come from any of the schools, if you have any ties to any of the schools that are playing. It's a different feeling altogether, and you get to see a lot of young guys, a good number of whom are going to be the stars of the of the future in terms of the PBA, the national team, and as we'll talk about later, some are even currently the stars already,
Yeah.
of the Gilas national team. So
Mm.
it's extremely exciting, for everything to start this coming weekend.
Yeah, I'm very excited also. But then I wanted to ask you, like, based from what you've heard or what you've read, kamusta naman yung mga teams? Because nga, there are a ton of new faces. Like, for each school, siguro mga one-third or one-fourth na lang yung returning. Tapos, yung practices nila limited. And for sure, it got halted pa nung Omicron. So, do you think the chemistry, how's it gonna be like? Like, do you think there are schools that will have a problem? Do you think some will have an edge? How's it like from your perspective?
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword kind of situation, Diego. I mean, on the one hand, teams with a lot of veterans, and off the top of my head, Ateneo is one of those teams with a lot of veterans. I think to a certain extent, UP also
Yeah.
will have a good number of veterans. Even LaSalle, I think, will have a good number of
Mhm.
veterans. NU actually is one of the dark horses, no? Because they have a good number of veterans coming back for the Bulldogs. No? So I think chemistry will be less of a concern for certain teams, especially those with maybe around half their rosters full of veterans. On the other hand, unpredictability, not being able to ano, in military parlance, no, the fog of war, no, not being able to see sino ba tong player na bago ng FEU, ng UST, ng Adamson, ng UE. I think that can be parlayed into an advantage by those other teams as well. So it's going to be interesting how things go. In the past, the unpredictability was a bit of a smaller factor because you had Phil Oil, you had
Mm. Father
other
Martins.
Father Martins, may City
Yeah.
Hoops pa, diba, dati, no,
Yeah.
under 22, parang ganyan. So you had so many preseason tournaments where you could kind of gauge what these teams are capable of doing. But now, even if we've heard whispers of some teams actually having scrimmages here and there, it's not the
Mm.
same. So I think
Yeah.
there are going to be a lot of blind spots for teams moving forward. I know for a fact that because I have assistant coach friends from a number of teams. I know for a fact that they're kind of in the dark as well. Parang the last time they saw this player play was when he was in high school,
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah.
ago. The only highlights they know of this Phil Foreigner is from YouTube, which are from high
Yeah.
school as well. So it's gonna be so interesting how the teams kind of scheme each other and create game plans for each other. And I think there's a lot of room for error for the teams, and that means that parang any team can kind of upset any other team on
Mm.
any given day. So it's gonna be a really really exciting season up ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yun nga, yung unpredictability is what I'm excited for. Kasi ako nga, I watch a lot of basketball na. Like, my friends make fun of me nga na yun na lang yung ginagawa ko. Pero like, these players, hindi ko na nga sila kilala. Like, I've heard their names lang, a couple of them. And like, lalo na yung, parang like, yung UE players or yung Adamson. Like, they have a whole new culture and system. But then,
Yeah.
I've heard a few of them nung UAAP juniors. Pero yun lang, hindi naman televised yung UAP juniors masyado, like nung ibang games lang. So medyo hindi ko talaga sila nakita eh. So yun yung exciting actually for me, that I'll get to learn new players and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And yung mga game days din, di ba? Dikit-dikit na all the schools are playing sa UAAP on every game day. So the adjustment also for these players will be key. But then you mentioned na nga that you have like friends na assistant coaches. I'm pretty sure you have connections to Ateneo, and like every show I've heard, parang sila pa rin yung heavy favorites kasi nga undefeated sila. And some of their key losses are like Thirdy, Ravena, Nieto twins, Isaac go. But then they have Dave Ildefonso back from their high school program, and they have Rafi Verano back, I believe, and Jolo Mendoza. So do you agree that, because in my opinion, even if I'm from LaSalle, like Ateneo is still the heavy favorites kasi nga hindi pa sila natatalo kahit matalo sila ng one game. Parang dun mo palang magi-gauge. Pero ikaw, sa tingin mo, is it like that nga?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ateneo. I mean, bias aside,
Yeah.
and everything like that. Objectively speaking, because of the fact that arguably they have the best coach in college basketball, maybe best coach in basketball bar none in the country, in Coach Tab Baldwin, and I kind of feel like he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder this
Yeah.
season. That's the first reason. Second reason is, like I said earlier, they have so many veterans on this team, no? And veterans who, over the past 2 years, have also gained valuable experience playing for Gilas as well. No, so these are veterans na hindi sila nakatenga or hindi sila nakaparada lang, parang gano'n, no? You have Ange Kwame, who is still, I think, the gold standard for foreign student athletes, entering the season. Obviously, you have SJ Belangel, Dave, like you mentioned, is coming back, and he, for one, I know, is extremely excited to put his old Ateneo colors back, and then make an impact. Gio Chu is going to be there. Tyler Tio, Gian Mamuya coming back from not playing in 2019 are Rafi Verano and Jolo Mendoza. And you have up and coming veterans, Matthew Daves, BJ Andrade, and then
Oh
of
yeah.
course, new names. Former LaSalle Green Hills junior blazer Inan Fernilos, I think, is in the final pool.
Oh.
So that's one person I'm really excited to see play. No? And then of course, my former players, Forsky Padrigao and Josh Lazaro,
Yeah.
I'm really hoping they can impact this season. And the Phil Foreigners, Chris Kuhn, I think Andrew Bongo is there. I'm not sure if Kai Balungay is eligible to play, hindi pa yata, no? But he's also
Yeah, I
another
think
exciting
next year
player
pa.
to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, next year pa yata. So, from
Mm.
top to bottom, even if you go 1 to 20, kasi 20, it's a 20-man
Oh.
pool, diba, for all the teams this season. You go 1 to 20, and Ateneo, they might not have the glitziest names, unlike one other team we'll probably talk about later. But they have a lot of experience
Yeah.
and championship experience, Gilas experience. Yeah, Coach Tab right there. I think they're still the team to beat. No, will they remain undefeated? You know what? If I'm being completely honest, and I'm not reverse jinxing, Ateneo here, but I don't think they're gonna stay undefeated. I mean, given the quality of a couple of the other teams we're gonna talk about, given again, the unpredictability of the whole setup this season, I think the environment is ripe for one team out there to give Ateneo an L or two, this season. They're still my favorites to win everything, but I'm not sure if they're going to sweep the entire thing again this year. I think that's going to be an extremely tall ask for Ateneo to do again.
And I think I don't know if they're the strongest team offensively, but then for sure defensively, like with Ange manning the paint and and sila Gian on the backcourt, like, chaos for their opponents, and I think they could build through that. And do you think Neo will have the same parang ingredients na walang magkakaroon ng parang myth five appearance? Bihira sila magkaroon ng ganun na parang mythical five with Coach Tab or spread out ang scoring. So yung like kung si Dave, he needs to adjust kasi sa NU, diba? Like number one score or two score in the whole UAAP. It's more of like that offensively than defensively. Dun talaga sila magfo-focus on how to beat these teams.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one obvious characteristic of any Coach Tab Baldwin team is the system. It's a system framework that they really build upon. It's very rare where you'll have anyone here, go one on one, ISO, and especially now that Thirdy's not there. Dwight, I guess, was supposed to inherit that role,
Yeah.
but he's not there as well. I mean, Dwight is kind of like a never was for Ateneo, diba? Because he was supposed to play in 2020, but that never happened. Now he's doing something else. If there's one person who can maybe do that, it's probably Dave. No, let's say 5-6 seconds left on the shot clock. Nothing's happening. The defense has got basang-basa yung cuts and screens ng Ateneo. I think Dave's the person who can probably freewheel a little bit on this team. But like what you said, Diego, I don't foresee anybody on this team making it to the mythical five. Not because they're not talented enough,
Yeah.
but because that's just how the system works. It's not designed for any one or two players to really, shine or be a cut above the rest across an entire season. Maybe you're gonna have an SJ game. Maybe you're gonna have an Ange Kwame game. I'm sure you're gonna have a Dave Ildefonso or a Tyler Tio game, no? Maybe even a Jolo Mendoza game here and there. But I don't think there's gonna be that one person or even two persons who will, kind of carry this team all by their lonesome throughout the entire season. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised if nobody ends up on the mythical five again. No? Maybe SJ has a chance because he's just a really, really good point guard. But apart from him, I'm not even going to say Ange because Ange kasi doesn't really look for his own numbers. It just
Yeah.
comes to him. So I don't think this is going to end up with one or two people in the mythical five.
Yeah, that's what I thought of as well. I don't know from based on my prior knowledge in Ateneo. But then, how about do you think they have the deepest bench, and is that like a really massive edge that they'll have entering the season?
Well, honestly, I'm not sure if deepest. No, I mean, because when we say deepest, it usually pertains to the talent, the skill level. So I'm gonna say no. They don't have the deepest bench, but I think they probably will have. They definitely have the most experienced supporting cast, and I think they probably have the most stable, supporting cast out there. No, and by supporting cast, just thinking about the pool based off memory, it's probably going to be Mamu, probably Rafi Verano, maybe Jolo Mendoza, maybe BJ Andrade, Gio Chu probably coming off the bench. Then
Yeah.
you got the Phil Force, the newcomers, the rookies, Fortsky, Josh Lazaro, Chris Kuhn probably coming off the bench as well. Daves and Troy Malilin. So not the deepest but stable, solid supporting cast for this team, and I think that that's really, all that they need, moving forward. I mean, it's not this is not a top heavy team. It's just really stable, 1 through 20, and I think that's what makes them, dangerous and the favorites, entering season 84.
Oh, okay, okay. Sige. Pero based on what you lamented on, like, what do you think could be the weakness that one of these schools could exploit and snatch a game here and there? And then, do you think that could be the two guys offensively, like what you said, na wala na nga si Thirdy? And even before, Matt could manufacture a shot when the shot clock's running down. But then now they have Dave, and I think he could do that. Then do you think they have other weaknesses? Like, yeah, for instance, I think UP, they're very talented as well. And hopefully LaSalle. What do you think these teams could do for Ateneo to, have an off night and then lose for the first time since season 81?
Well, I think two things, no, there are two potential, I would say, maybe chinks in the armor for Ateneo. The first one is, in any game, if Ange, gets into foul trouble, or, knock on wood, okay, he gets injured or something.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if Ateneo has the depth and the size at the front court to make up for that. I mean, backing Ange up, I'm assuming will be Gio Chu, and
Yeah.
Gio, the his journey has been really, really far already. Coming from Pace Academy, a small school in Quezon City, then Ateneo de Manila, for high school, and then Ateneo for college. His improvement has been dramatic. Across the past, 4 or 5 years. So I think he's gonna be a solid backup to Ange. But if there's any moment in any game when Gio needs to be the number one big guy to go up against, a Malik Diouf from UP, or a Carl
Mm.
Tamayo, or to try and shadow, a Balti Baltazar, or any of the Phillips brothers from
Mm.
LaSalle, or the foreign student athlete for FEU, Emmanuel Ojuola, no? Then he's gonna have a hard time, I think, no?
Mm.
Against those guys. No? So that's the first potential chink in the armor I see in Ateneo. No? The front court depth, um, might not be there. No? So Ange really has to watch his fouls and really be healthy, no? Throughout the entire season. Second is, if in any game, their outside shooting goes south, I think that can be exploited by some of the stronger, deeper teams in the UAAP. I mean, you have no Anton Asistio, you have no Matt Nieto. Uh, I mean, Mike Nieto also was a pretty
Yeah.
reliable 3-point shooter for this team.
Even Wong. Adrian
Yeah,
Wong.
yeah, even Wong, diba?
Mm.
So now, I mean,
Mm.
SJ's good,
Mm.
but without Matt Nieto to be the facilitator and to find him, he's gonna be the one to facilitate everything. So
Mm.
he's gonna be the one looking for maybe BJ Andrade, maybe Jolo Mendoza, Tyler Tio. If he is developed a
Mm.
consistent 3-point shot, then that's good. But I didn't see that the past couple of seasons. So
Mm.
that for me, could be, another chink in the armor for Ateneo. I've heard that the Phil Italian guy, si Gomez, no,
Oh.
supposedly is a pretty good shooter. I haven't honestly seen him in an actual game situation, so I'm not sure. But, based on, the names that I've seen in the pool, that could be potentially, a chink in the armor for Ateneo. If in any game the 3-point shooting is cold, then, that could catch them, in a very bad situation, and that could end up in a loss for the Blue Eagles.
Yeah, honestly, I did think about their outside shooting, and now you mentioned it, napaisip na ako na matcha-challenge sila Jolo Mendoza, yun sila SJ to make those critical three-pointers that were back-breaking in their teams in those critical games. So, for the Ateneans, hopefully they're able to do that kasi lalo na yung mga high pressure situations. Like baka may fans na nga pagdating ng mga Final Four eh. So mas nakakakabayan or mas tumataas yung pressure. But then I like what you mentioned already, the UP squad. I think that's what you mentioned kanina rin na sila yung madaming talent. Ang dami nilang na-recruit the whole 2 years na walang games. And question for me is I want to ask you lang what your answer would be is Carl Tamayo the best threes since what? Since who? Like since Kiefer or since Terrence Romeo?
Oh
I don't
man.
know. Is the hype real basically for him?
Oh, I mean, if you're talking about whether he lives up to the hype, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, no doubt. Carl Tamayo is the real deal. Is he the best player since Kiefer, or I
Uh,
don't know, since Ren, or
yeah.
I, I'm not. I think what makes Carl possibly end up after the next 4 or 5 years, what can make him potentially the best college player we've seen is not even with Benji Paras before. I don't think we've seen this kind of skill set in a guy this size. I mean, I first saw Carl Tamayo, I think in 2016 when he was still with Adamson. He was fresh from
Oh yeah.
Cebu. He was
Mm.
15 years old, and already people were saying, itong tingnan mo, itong si Tamayo, galing Cebu, yung galing Adamson, dinala ni Coach Gold. Kasi yan, ibang klase yan. I think I saw him first, yeah, thin, reed thin, 15-year-old, 6'5" already at that time. And he wasn't dominant by any stretch, but he had such great potential. You could see his spin moves at 6'5" as a 15-year-old. Parang kita mo na, boy, there's something about this kid, no? And when I was with Batangilas in 2018 when they competed in the under 17 World Cup in Argentina, and Carl was part of that team. And I remember our first tune-up game in Argentina, a few days after we landed. Our first tune-up game, first or second tune-up game was against the Canadian team, Team Canada,
Mm.
under 17 team ng Canada. And Canada, obviously they have 6'8", 6'9" guys. Like half the roster was 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guys. But here was Carl Tamayo, who was around 6'7", 6'8" at that time,
Yeah.
and that was 2018, so he was around 17 years old, and he was holding his own against these
Yeah.
Canadians, huh? These future NCAA Division One players. No? And Kai was cinco, and it was either Gio or Raven playing the four, and then here was
Mm.
Carl playing the three
Oh yeah.
against these Canadian kids, and he was taking some of them to school. Huh? I mean,
Mm.
he would get high post,
Oh.
okay, tapos spin. His favorite
Oh.
shoulder is his right side. This is
Oh.
scouting report from high school. No? Whenever we'd scout against NU, we tell our players, we tell Kai, we tell Gio, we tell Josh, okay,
Oh.
favorite shoulder ni Carl, right. So when he's posting you up, he'll probably spin to his right. But even if you knew that, it would still be extremely difficult to stop him. Just how good he is. So here was Carl Tamayo taking these Canadians to school, driving right, driving left, shooting mid range, shooting 20-footers, and that was the first time I was like, holy ish, this kid is special.
Yeah.
This kid, this kid could go beyond the Philippines.
Mm.
I mean, back then, the focus was definitely on Kai, and well deserved, no.
Mm.
But in that tournament in Argentina, when people saw the Batangilas guys play, they were not just talking about Kai anymore. They were talking about Carl also, no. And up until now, sometimes I still get, because I also write for FIBA, I still get some
Mm.
messages, no? Parang, oh, how's that kid? This what's his name? Tamayo.
Yeah.
Where did he play in the Jeep? Did he play in Europe? Because that's
Mm.
how good scouts thought he was, no? and he is going to be a dominant force for UP for this season, the second season later this year,
Yeah.
the next year, the year after next. He's gonna be a dominant force for UP,
Mm.
Diego. I don't think there's any one single player who can stop him. I mean, maybe toe to toe with him as a 3/4 guy, maybe Balti.
Yeah, maybe lang.
Maybe when he's eligible next season, si Kai Balungay from Ateneo, maybe. I'm trying to think
Mm.
right now. Eh. Pero aside from those two, parang wala eh. I mean, this is again a 6'8" guy.
Mm.
You can make him play back to the basket and he can dominate.
Mm.
You can make him play the three like how Coach Tab played him against Korea in the last two windows ago, and he can dominate. He can eat you alive. 2 years ago, I mean 3 years ago, if you left him from three, parang okay, you can settle for that. But now hindi eh. Hindi pwede.
Oh, nung Gilas hindi na. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really really good. If there is one maybe weakness, and maybe this is actually past tense already, because
Oo.
knowing Carl, he's the type of kid who works on his weaknesses eh. Kasi nga
Mm.
dati left shoulder weakness, he worked on that. Dati set shot three weakness, he worked on that already. Dati defense was not his biggest strength.
Mm.
Okay. Um, he was not really known as a dominant shot blocker. Dati, medyo tinatago siya on defense ng
Mm.
NU. But knowing him and knowing how Coach Gold adjusts and works on his players, I wouldn't be surprised if he's improved. And actually, he has improved. In the Gilas window, 6 months ago, you could see him fighting through screens. You could see him making the right reads on screen and roll situations. And I think he's improved defensively. But yun, he's really gonna be a dominant force, Diego, moving forward. Siguro as long as he stays healthy.
Mm.
As long as he stays healthy. Kasi for the longest time, I think 4 years now, I'm not sure if it was his right ankle or his left ankle. Yung kanyang medyo weak. Yung parang physically, yun
Yeah.
yung weakness niya eh. One of his ankles eh. But apart from that, he's dominant. I mean, if he got drafted in the PBA tomorrow, he would be a double figure scorer in the PBA. That's how
Yeah.
good he is. And the
Mm.
fact that he has 5 seasons to play in the
Mm.
UAAP, it's vulgar, it's profane. That's how good Carl Tamayo is. No? So yeah, he's good. He potentially can be the best local player we've ever seen. But whether he'll be that depends on a couple of other factors. So, but hype definitely is justified for Carl Tamayo.
Yeah, I feel that he has a chance, like a huge chance to win Mythical 5 this year. And the great thing about him also, the way I see him play, like before this UAP season, was even if you don't call plays for him, you could manufacture points through like putbacks or yung mga low post na nagkakagulo na lahat. Tapos bigay mo lang yung bola sa akin and then he'll find a way with his yun nga impeccable footwork that a lot of people now have. Pero parang sa kanya natural talaga na kaya niya yun yung parang RDO ganun or yung mga kakaibang post players na mas matangkad pa siya dun sa mga players na yun eh. So I'm actually kind of I don't know how other schools are gonna defend him. And that's a great test na they're gonna play Ateneo right away. So Coach Sab will try to formulate a game plan.
Yeah, and again, that could be what snaps the streak. We'll see. That first game is going to be very interesting on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. Tune into that. Pero yung UP team nga, you mentioned very deep. And just some of the names they got are like Bismarck Lina. They got Joel Cagulang, RC Kalimag. They got Zav or Zave Lucero. I think I've heard good things about him. I think Naveen Ganglani interviewed him before in his podcast and for a Rappler. And as you mentioned na kanina, Malik Diouf. I mean, the last time Ateneo lost in a non-UAAP game, I think, was the PBA League where Malik Diouf was the leader of Central University, and he kind of played better than Ange Kwame in that game. So I've seen him play. So out of all these UP recruits, like who do you think would stand out? I mean, yung mga Richie, CJ Cancino, alam na natin yan eh. So yung mga sa iba naman, sino pa? And the NU Bullpups guys pala. To add to that, I forgot. They are so. Who do you think will have a great season for them, or who should we watch out for?
Well, it's actually the Bullpups kids, Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in 2019 and 2018, no, kaming coaching staff ng Eaglets, we were having nightmares trying to think of how we could stop, the Bullpups. No, they're just that good. And Coach Gold is one of the reasons why they're very good. No? Coach Goldwyn, he's known for being an amazing recruiter, no, for finding these players from anywhere in the Philippines, putting them in Chiangkai, in Adamson before, now in NU, and then just making them great players. And he's known for that, but he's also a very good game adjustment kind of coach. And I think that's what we're gonna see, no, with UP this coming season. We're finally gonna appreciate how good a coach, Coach Goldwyn, really, really is, no, because only the hardcore amateur basketball fans have really seen how good he was back when he was still coaching Chiangkai in the Filipino Chinese leagues, and then with NU in the UAAP. But a bigger audience will see how good he is, and he'll be able to maximize a lot of these players. No? I think Zave Lucero is gonna live up to the hype also. I'm not sure if he's gonna be as dominant as Carl, but I think
Maybe, yeah.
athleticism wise, he's gonna be a solid player for UP. If I'm gonna pick another player though, it's gonna be Jerry Abadiano, Diego. I mean, Jerry is a special kind of point guard. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for Jerry. Pero ang naiisip ko parang hybrid ng ano ba? Parang hybrid ni siguro hybrid ni Mike Cortez and ni Johnny Abarientos kasi parang he's such an explosive slasher to the basket. He has great physicality. I remember this game we had against New Zealand, again in Argentina 4 years ago. And, New Zealand, the New Zealand guys are known for being very physical. But they were flying off of his shoulders. No? Ang galing ni Jerry, ang galing niyang gumamit ng katawan and mautak. That's why I'm comparing him to Mike Cortez. No? Because mautak maglaro si Jerry. And, he has a great mid-range. That's why I'm comparing him to Johnny A as well. So I think he's gonna be a guy na talagang will give opposing guards just nightmares, moving forward. And I kind of knowing Coach Tab and knowing the coaching staff that he has, I know that, Carl Tamayo, Zave Lucero, Jerry Abadiano, in addition to the veterans, in addition to Richie and CJ, and like what you mentioned, si Diouf, in addition to those guys, these are the names keeping Coach Sandy, Coach Tab, keeping them up at night, preparing for the first game this coming Saturday. So those are the kids you should watch out for. The others, Bismarck, love his game. RC Kalimag, love his game. I was with them also in Batangilas. But right now, if we're talking about the kids who can make an immediate impact, right, as early as Saturday, then I'm putting my money on Carl Tamayo. I'm putting my money on Jerry Abadiano. Sama mo na si Terence Fertea, the third Bullpup.
Shooter.
Actually, sama mo yung pang-apat na Bullpup, no? Si Harold Alarcon. Those four are actually limang core Bullpups yan, but the other one went to Lasal, si Kiambao. But those other four, Alarcon, Fortea, Tamayo, Abadiano, those are the guys that are going to form the core of this UP team in the next 5 years. No? But all of them can
Mm-hmm.
contribute as early as Saturday. So it's going to be really exciting. I'm so excited to see the game already, this Saturday between Ateneo and
Mm-hmm.
UP. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, and UP stacked like I don't know, parang iba na talaga sila for sure from the last game nung natalo ba sila sa UST nung season 82 Final Four. I'm pretty sure like 100% iba na yung team nila ngayon. And would you agree na siguro one weakness of UP or maybe you have another one you could state also is maybe their leadership or yung parang veteran ano nila since yung NU nga mga rookies and baka iba pa rin naman yung college sa high school and yung veterans nila are Richie, CJ, Noah Webb, James Spencer, I think. So some of will these guys be not as the mentors or veterans in the UP
I
team?
think
Like an example, like if they go against a LaSalle team with like a Wacky Manuel or a Ateneo with all the names you mentioned earlier.
I think it's a good point, Diego. I mean, on one hand, you have so many amazing rookies in a rookie coach that knows how to use them. On the other
Mm.
hand, you have these seasoned veterans who are big names in their own right. Richie Ravena, former King Archer, diba? You have CJ Cancino, former King Tiger in UST. So it's gonna be interesting how Coach Gold will manage the, I don't want to say egos, but the chemistry of the veterans with the young guys. Because again, if I'm being completely honest, the rookie class of UP is good enough to play toe to toe with a professional team and beat any other college team. That's how good they are. But whether how to manage again the chemistry of the NU Bullpups guys and the other newcomers and the Phil foreigners with the established veterans, that I think is one X factor for UP moving forward. No, I think Richie's leadership, same with CJ, their leadership is gonna be extremely critical. No, if if let's say the new guys are the ones that are putting up the big numbers, will Richie and CJ be okay stepping aside, so to speak, no? Or
Yeah.
sharing the
Mm-hmm.
limelight with them? That's going to be a big question moving forward. Some people might think, is that even a question? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, but yes, it is. No? To be completely honest, no, from a coaching perspective,
Mm.
and this is something not a lot of people might see in a very obvious way, but people management in a roster is very very important, no, and it gets harder as you go up the levels. A little easier to do at the high school level, much harder to do when you're at the college level and you have former high school stars all together on one team. Even harder to do at the national team, of course, in PBA levels. No? So I think that's going to be one challenge for Coach Gold moving forward. How to be able to really manage the chemistry of this team. One guy who I think is actually uh, a natural leader, a vocal leader, is actually Noah Webb. No, I mean that
Yeah.
kid. Even ever
Mm.
since he was in Zobel, he's always been an energy guy, a vocal
Mm.
guy, a passion player, and he's brought that to UP. And I think he's the kind of guy who can be like the glue guy for this UP team. Let's say, let's say in a game or in a particular stretch of the season, they get into a rough patch. Maybe they lose back-to-back games or they fall behind by double digits in a game. I think Noah's the kind of guy who can, oy, Carl, halika nga dito. Jerry, Richie, CJ, halika nga kayo dito. He's the kind of guy who pull everyone together and, just knock some sense into them. No,
Mm.
I think he's that kind of guy. I haven't seen that, to be honest. No, I haven't seen that yet from Richie or from CJ in the
Yeah.
past. If
Yeah.
they've
Same.
matured enough to be that kind of leader, then sky's the limit for this UP team. But Noah is that kind of vocal leader that nakikita ko ngayon for this team. And if he can be that this upcoming season, then again, all the better for the Fighting Maroons.
Yeah, among the seven other schools, I'm excited to watch UP. Like, I don't know if they're gonna win a lot of games, but then just the excitement level in all their games with all the names you mentioned, I think they're gonna be fun to watch kahit sino kalaban nila. So I'm looking forward to them. But then how about LaSalle? Like moving on to LaSalle, I mean they haven't made the Final Four in season 81 and season 82 with Jermaine Bird, I think, and Logan and now they have a retooled lineup. I think Balti and Kurt Lojera, Ralph Gu, and Waki Manuel are some of the names lang na naalala na babalik. And then they have priced recruit Evanelli and Mark Nonoy, arguably like the best backcourt now in the UAAP. So, what do you think of Salis? Do you think they have a chance to actually win it all this year, or is it a toss up between UP and Ateneo from your perspective?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, Diego, I think the favorites are gonna be, it's a battle of katipunan among the favorites. Ateneo and
Mm.
UP are the top two. No? If I'm going
Mm.
to have like tiers, no, the top tier, that's
Yeah.
Ateneo and UP, but LaSalle's in that second spot. No? LaSalle for me definitely should be a Final Four team. They
Mm-hmm.
have the potential to upset either Ateneo or UP, both of whom should finish 1 and 2. But LaSalle definitely has the potential to upset any of those teams. I mean, Coach Derek Pomarin is one of the most seasoned coaches in the country. There's no second guessing someone like him. Um, Obviously, Balti is going to be an amazing leader for this team this coming season. I hope he becomes a vocal leader, no, because he's never really known to be a very vocal guy. He's so soft spoken, diba?
Yeah.
Uh, and he leads by example. That's the kind of player he is, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's what LaSalle needs, a vocal leader. It In a way, Waki Manuel kind of slides into that spot as a
Mm.
vocal guy. That's the kind of player he was with Xavier and then Ateneo before moving to LaSalle. No? So I wouldn't be surprised if Waki becomes their version of Noah Webb, no, for LaSalle. But firepower, I think they have enough. No? I mean, like what you said, the potential of this explosive Nelly and Mark None backcourt is just through the roof. No, I mean, either kid could score 20 in a game on top of Balti maybe scoring 20 points as well. No, so it's a very explosive backcourt. No, with those two guys, and you could easily see either one of them playing the scorer's role or the facilitator's role as well. No, I'm excited also about the Phillips brothers
Mm-hmm.
um, this coming season. I think Michael in particular is gonna make a big impact for the Green Archers. I'm also kind of biased for Raven Cortez. I mean he was
Oh
with us
yeah.
in Batangas also 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
he was never really able to consistently put up big numbers in the juniors because of injury issues. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping Raven is much healthier now because the potential Raven has is also sky high. I mean, he's a guy who potential skill set wise, he has his skill set is not too far away from Carl Tamayo's skill set. No, talking about Raven Cortez. So as long as he's able to stay healthy, I think Raven can make a big impact this season as well. I mean, I think the foreign athlete for LaSalle, Bright
Nuanco.
Nuango, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for. Honestly, I haven't seen him play a lot, so there's a big
Yeah.
question mark on how dominant he can be. I think this is still going to be Balti's team, but anytime you have a guy as big and as long as Bright Nuango, man the middle, that's going to free up a lot of space for your guards and for your wingmen. So I think down the line, LaSalle has the firepower. And I haven't even mentioned Penny Estacio. Penny Estacio is
Mm. From FU.
kind of like a baby Evan Nelly also. Yeah. I mean, I
Mm.
coached against him when he was still with San Beda at the aspirants level, and he used to burn us from long range. Hirap bantayan ni Penny kasi he's para talaga siyang Evanelli maglaro, no? So
Mm.
it's gonna be interesting to see how he meshes in that backcourt. No? But again, firepower wise, LaSalle has it. They have what it takes to be able to stay toe to toe with Ateneo and UP. Depth, that could be a factor moving forward, but on a good day, on a good day, LaSalle can hang with any team, no, in the UAAP.
Yeah. How about, do you think their outage cause for concern? Like, who do you think would have that, like, similar to Ateneo? Like, who do you think would have that role in LaSalle? Like, the role player na pag pinasok, kailangan natin ng floor space. Yung parang si Joe Logo yata before. Who do you think could be that in LaSalle? Kasi if yun yung tingin ko naging problema rin nila even when they had Aljun and Andre before.
Well, honestly, I mean, Balti's perimeter game has improved, light years from a couple of years ago. So I think he's going to be an interesting floor spacer for the team. Nonoy and Nel, siguro more of Evanelli as a floor spacer. No? Kurt Lohera actually is pretty good also from long range. No? I actually can easily imagine Nelly being the facilitator, then Nonoy is just running off screens. Lohera is waiting in the wings, or even Wacky. Although Wacky's perimeter game is not as consistent. But those names, no,
Yeah.
Balti, Mark Nonoy, Evanelli, Kurt Lohera, to a certain extent, Wacky Manuel, if he gets his minutes, Penny Estacio. These are guys I think who can open up the floor for LaSalle, offensively speaking, and then potentially, that's where Balti can do his magic. Michael Phillips as well, maybe Bright Dwako as well can work his magic in that kind of setting. So yun nakita ko for LaSalle. Kung may weakness man siguro for LaSalle is it's also that backcourt that kind of, kasi LaSalle has a lot of size. I mean, Raven, Balti, the Phillips brothers are all about 6'8" or higher. So size for me not a big problem for LaSalle. The backcourt is explosive, but at the same time, it parang if they keep on chucking shots and they're not falling, I'm not sure how else they can make an impact on the game. Maybe I'm really imagining Evanelli more than Mark Nonoy. I mean, Mark Nonoy kasi defensively he can be a dynamo as well. But si Evanelli, parang offensively, if he's not hitting threes, if he's not hitting the cutters, if he's not hitting the bigs, I'm not so sure he offers anything else for this team. No? So that's my big worry for LaSalle. No? If the backcourt is not clicking, if the backcourt is not scoring well, I'm not sure if they can make any other kind of impact for this team. So that's my big worry for LaSalle.
That's an interesting point kasi everyone's just hyping up their backcourt pero hindi siguro nila napapansin nga na that could be a cause for concern for them. Pero yeah, thinking about it now and watching Evan and Mark, I felt like that could also, if an off night, like I'm not sure who can go off the bench backcourt player for LaSalle. Like before they had Ench the bench, he would be a spark plug. They had Kib, I believe, off the bench, and now they're not there. So I don't know. I'll check that. I mean, their first game against UE. I mean, siguro UE is not one of the strongest competitors yet, but then we look into that in their first game on Saturday. Pero for the other teams naman, yung mga FEU, Adamson, UE, and UST, like some of these guys are unfamiliar to the nung pumasok nga si Renz Abando, hindi siyang kilala. Ako, hindi ko rin siya kilala. Ray Suerte as well. Like, yung mga nanonood lang ng si Safi, yung may kilala sa kanila. But then, first game pa lang. After that, everyone was tuned in these names. But then for you, like, among all these people, like, maybe Barrientos na yung pinakakilala from them. Like, sino yung mga players dito sa mga schools na to na talagang papanuurin mo or papanuurin din ng mga tao?
All right, sige. I'll go siguro team by team really quickly, no, Diego. So
yeah.
Kanina I was saying, the favorites are Ateneo and UP. LaSalle for me is a contender. Along with LaSalle, I think is FEU
Mm.
as a contending team because they have great coaching. I mean, Coach Olsen is great coach, and
Mm.
their program from high school to college is solid and streamlined. Maybe the most streamlined program when we talk about transitioning from juniors to seniors. If you look at the core of this FEU team, I think around 10 or 11 or of their players all came from their juniors program. No? And their
Mm.
juniors program, Coach Alan Albano, their system is almost a mirror identical system as what they use in the college team. So the adjustment period, if you're a baby Tam to a bona fide
Mm.
Tamaraw, is next to zero. No? So
Mm.
I don't see many adjustments for, let's say, RJ Abarientos, like what you said. It's going to be his first season in the UAE, in the seniors. He's actually turning 23 already this year. No? But his first season at the seniors level. But I don't
Mm.
think there's going to be any adjustment at all. I think he's going to be one of the most explosive and fun to watch guys this coming season. And his tandem with LJ Gonzalez, that
Yeah.
backcourt can
A big.
challenge can
Mm.
challenge any other backcourt in the UAAP.
Mm.
So those are two guys. That is maybe the
Mm.
backcourt to watch in FEU. But in addition to them, two other guys that I'll be keeping tabs on, no, are these guys. The first is Cholo Anunuevo. No?
Mm-hmm.
He's a Filipino-Irish player. He played for the FEU juniors team, but he actually grew up in Ireland.
Wow. Okay.
Um, he's in Ireland. He played as a guard.
Mm-hmm.
In FEU, he was converted to a mobile four. I remember his first year in the Philippines playing for FEU. All he could really do was dunk and rebound. Scouting report namin sa kanya, no outside shot. So in the his second junior season, he became a spot shooter with using his left hand, no?
Mm.
And he rediscovered his guard skills. So now he's about 6'3", 6'4", can dunk like crazy, has a solid shot as long as he's a spot up shooter, and he can even dribble the basketball as in a decent fashion for a 6'4" guy in the Philippines. That's a bit of a rarity. So Cholo Anunuevo, one guy to really keep tabs on. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a good number of high YouTube highlights just on him. I wouldn't be surprised if he dunks on someone and then does this, afterwards. I mean, uso ngayon, di ba? You dunk on someone,
uh,
ganun ka, di ba? I wouldn't
uh,
be surprised if he does that. Second guy to watch, former, and this is what you mentioned, si Safi, Juniors MVP, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, Kevin Gibao. I forget, I think he played for USJR, no? San Jose Recoletos yata, in Safi. But he's former Safi MVP, and now playing for Coach Olsen Rosella. And FEU has always been known for these tall, thin, lanky, hugot guys na come out of nowhere and suddenly become, MVP candidates. So, Arwin Santos comes to mind, Rizal Castro, Mark Isip, mga ganyan, di ba?
mm.
I think this Gibao kid could potentially be that kind of player as well. No? So,
I don't know him
uh,
actually.
yeah,
Really.
he's
Yeah.
one guy to watch, no, moving forward. So that's FEU. Moving to the next tier, so from favorites to contenders, I'm gonna call this next group maybe the dark horses. Yeah,
Dark horse. Yeah.
UST is there. No, UST. Um, UST is kind of funny because Coach Manansala, it's his first season as head coach, but he's
Mm.
from that Alden Ayo pedigree. No? So I expect the same system that he's gonna play. So a little bit of mayhem again, no, for UST. They only have, if my math is right, they only have two veterans who are coming back, no, Dave Ando and Sherwin Concepcion. So
Yeah,
obviously
I
those
think it's
guys,
them.
those
Yeah.
guys are going to be absolutely crucial for UST moving forward. They're not going to lead the team in scoring. They're not going
Mm.
to be the faces of this team, no? But their leadership, their steadiness, their stability is going to be important for UST. The the three guys that I'm going to watch for are the following. No? Josh Fontanilla,
Mm.
one of them. Josh, I think, is a transfer, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, from, I think, from St. Clair, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, from St. Clair College. And he was an amazing point guard, no, for St. Clair. So I think, kung di ako nagkakamali, he's gonna be
Yeah, he is.
he's gonna be parang yung kapalit ni Renzo Subido. He's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
that kind of scoring guard, no, for UST. Second name that I'm gonna watch out for is Brian Samudio. Okay, Brian Samudio, also, I think, kung di ako nagkakamali, also a Safi product din yata to si Brian. But again, he's gonna be uh, an interesting addition, no, to this team. No? If not si Safi, I think NCAA junior, but basta he didn't come from a UAAP juniors program. Either sa
Mm-hmm.
Safi or NCAA juniors program to si Samudio. And he was MVP when he was in the juniors. No? So either sa Safi MVP or NCAA MVP, parang ganun. So he's going to be another guy to watch out for this team. And lastly, Cabanero, Nika El Cabanero. This is a guy that not a lot of people have heard of, no? But kung natuloy yung Batang Gilas in 2019, he would have been the star of that team. Nika El Cabanero, Tubong Cebu, played, I think, 1 or 2 seasons for Sacred Heart Ateneo de Cebu before transferring to San Beda here in Manila, and he was an amazing player for the Red Cubs before eventually getting recruited by UST to play Sana for the Tiger Cubs in season 83. That didn't happen, of course, because of COVID. But now that he's in college, he's going to be one of the main guys, I think, no, for Coach Gino Manansala and for the Growling Tiger. I'm not sure if he's going to be dominant, but he's going to be a main guy. And ito, when he was in the Batangilas pool in 2019, and when Coach Sandy was still the coach of Batangilas, I think he still is, right now. But Coach Sandy said this Cabanero kid, he can score on anyone. Okay. And I can attest to that because I coached against him at the passerelle level, no, Ateneo against San Beda
Mm-hmm.
passerelle, and he smoked us. We were like, sino to? Di namin kilala to. Sino to Cabanero? And he was like a man among boys. No? He was hezzy, shake and bake,
Tira. Oh.
like parang wala lang. Shake and bake,
Mm-hmm.
pull up, 15-footer, okay. Tapos takbong mayaman, ganyan. I mean, galing.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be a revelation for UST. So watch out for that kid, no? Nika El Cabanero. Kasama ng UST in the dark horses, I think, is NU. NU, I don't think they have the depth to break into the top four, but they have a lot of experience. No? We're talking about Sean Ildefonso, who I think is going to be maybe the scoring leader, definitely the vocal leader of this team. You have
Mm-hmm.
John Lloyd Clemente, who I think is poised to have a breakout season for NU. I think you have Isa Gaya back for another round as well for this team.
I
So
think
I,
so.
I, I hope he's gonna have a better. I hope he's gonna have better production this time around. And ito, the former Bullpups, ito yung mga teammates ni na Tamayo and Abadiano before, pero hindi na-recruit ng UP. So they stayed with NU.
Okay.
We're talking about Raylan Torres, Ernest Fedicilda, who's an amazing point guard, and the guy I think that a lot of people will be talking about because of his name, but also because of his game, kasi magaling din naman siya, Steve Nash Enriquez. Okay? Steve, yeah, that's really his name. I'm not kidding. No? Steve Nash Enriquez. No? So those three are going to be solid for NU. But apart from them, the X factor for NU will be the three Pampanga boys that they've brought in. No? Former UAAP Juniors MVP Jake Figueroa from Adamson.
Oh,
I
he's there now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I think he's gonna be sneaky good for NU this season. Tahimik lang yan si Jake but hindi mo na
Mm-hmm.
mapapansin. Makita mo lang sa stat sheet, this guy has 12 rebounds already? Paano nangyari? He
Mm-hmm.
scored 18 points third quarter pa lang? Sino
Mm-hmm.
si... Paano na ginawa yun? That's how he works. And the two other guys from Nassau Green Hills, no? Tubong Pampanga, recruited by Nassau Green Hills and now with NU. Jam Kiambao and Manansala. I forget his first name. No?
Yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So those three Pampanga boys, no.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna be potentially solid guys for NU. If Figueroa has an explosive season, if
Mm-hmm.
Ildefonso and Clemente also have explosive seasons, and let's say Isagaya becomes a league leader in rebounds and or blocked shots, then maybe NU can make the Final Four. No? But right now they're one of the dark horses, I think. And then the bottom two, at least on paper for me, are going to be Adamson and UE. No, Adamson, I think can be competitive. I mean, they have Jerome Lastimosa, they have Duanga coming back for the team.
Sabandal, I think, is
Joem
there.
Sabandal, who was a
Yeah.
great juniors player for them 2 years ago. One of our former players in the Eaglets, no, Joaquin Haimalin, is going to
Yeah,
be
I'm
there
against there.
as well. So they have some good young pieces. But if we're talking about size and depth and experience, parang kulang pa eh. But
Gulang.
with Nash Rosella there, he's a good coach for young players. I think he's going to be able to work with these young kids, make sure they improve every game. But whether that will translate into enough wins to challenge for a Final Four spot, parang I don't think so. Then lastly, UE, no? Medyo unfortunate yung UE kasi I think the foreign athlete that they were supposed to have parang went to his home country promising to come back but did not come back. Parang ganun yung story eh.
Wasn't that the
So,
UST one? I think UST yata.
oh, was that UST? Yeah, I think that was UST pala, UST pala. So
Yeah.
itong UE will be purely local players, no?
Ah,
So
okay.
we'll see. As far as I know, huh?
Oo.
So we'll see how it goes for you. If they have a foreign athlete, then that's a surprise for me. But even if they do, I don't think they can go very very far, no. And I mean, all props to Coach Jackson Chago. He's a good coach. He can develop players, but I'm not sure he has a lot to work with in this UE team. There are some interesting names, no? Antiporda, formerly from Chiang Kai-shek, was a big scorer in high school. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see if he can translate that this season. Harvey Pagsanghan, also a big
Yeah,
scorer for
Pagsanhan.
Christian before.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if he can translate that this season. No, he's a pretty uh, good scorer, but at this level against bigger opponents, tingnan natin. He did make a big impact in season 82. I think that was his first season. So we'll see kung makabawi siya ngayon, no? For this season. Clint Escamis is also there, so that's a big name from the NCAA juniors before. So there's some interesting names here for UE. But if you compare their depth and their size with and the experience with the other teams, especially the Ateneos and UPs and LaSalles and FEUs, I think talagang medyo dehado ang UP entering this season, Diego. So those are my tiers. No, you have the favorites, Ateneo and UP. Contenders, FEU and LaSalle. Dark horses would be UST and NU, and then medyo talaga sobrang underdogs would be Adamson and UE. Yun na.
Yeah, I love the players. Ang dami mong na-mention na players. And si Manansala pala, his name's Jolo Manansala. I searched
There
it
you go.
now.
Jolo Manansala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really great. Now these names I've only read them in articles or I've heard them from you for the first time. So I'm looking forward to them, and I really commend you also for knowing these players well, and you were coaching against some of them or coaching them in the high school level. Kaya nga, perfect na ikaw yung guest ko dito sa the DVD show for the UAAP preview. Pero ikaw, is your prediction UP Ateneo finals already, or do you actually are you trying to predict someone else to sneak in?
Well, I mean, again, being completely objective, yes. No, I think the teams to beat really are going to be Ateneo and UP. No?
Mhm.
If you talk about coaching, if you talk about depth and size, and maybe well, experience is on the side of Ateneo. No? But if you talk about all those elements, I think the Maroons and the Eagles really are kind of like a cut above almost everyone else. No? Maybe with the exception of LaSalle. But those two talaga, UP and Ateneo, I think, are going to be the teams to beat this coming season in the UAAP.
So who do you think is gonna win? Do you think Ateneo's experience will be too much for UP to handle in a 3-game series or 2-game series?
I think eventually, yes. I think
Mm-hmm.
parang the stability will still win out over explosiveness. When push comes to shove, and when all the chips are on the line, no, I think Ateneo still will have the edge, no, in that kind of matchup. And I hope it goes 3 games. If it's an Ateneo UP finals indeed, then sana it goes the full distance, diba? I think everyone would love to see that. No?
Mm-hmm.
And if Ateneo wins, then yay, my prediction is right. If UP wins, parang yay pa rin kasi
Yeah.
that's gonna be their first title in, oh my God, since 1987, parang ganun yata, diba? Or 88 or parang ganun. So
Sila Benji Paras pa ba yun?
yeah,
Matagal
yeah,
na
yeah.
yun.
So it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be is it 30 2022 minus
35.
yeah, oh yeah, so it's gonna be like
Mm-hmm.
35 years, diba? Since their last title, so that's gonna be huge also, no, for UP if that happens, no. So that's what I'm hoping for, no, to see those teams in the finals, because I think on paper they're the two best, deepest teams anyway, um, heading into this coming season. But if LaSalle upsets any of them, if FEU with their homegrown guys will be able to upset any of those other top teams, then that's gonna make things even more exciting for season 84.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask if you have a few names from the NCAA that you could share. Na like just a few names na since wala na yung mga Robert Bolick, CJ Perez, Scotty Thompson, Gio Halalon, and even Evan Nelly, Calvin Oftana, wala na sila lahat sa NCAA. So hindi na masyadong household names to, like it's only Renza Bando, Fran Yu, James Quequete, Brent Paraiso, I think Justin Arana after his great stint in the MVPL. These are like some of the names that I could remember off the top of my head na talagang naalala ko na alam kong magaling sa NCAA. So, do you have a few just to share like before we end the episode?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can share names for each school, no, because to be
Yeah, no,
completely
naman, not each
honest,
school.
I haven't been
Yeah.
keeping tabs on the
Mm.
NCAA teams, all of them at least, no.
Mm.
I'll start with maybe Lyceum, only because there are two names there that really stand out for me. Renzo Navarro, who's
Oh, yeah.
former Sebastian, formerly LaSalle, diba?
Mm-hmm.
So he's one guy to watch. Very explosive scorer. And one of our other former Batangilas players, Mac Guadagna, is on that Lyceum team. No? And that Mac is listed as around 5'10", 5'11", so not the tallest guy, but he can score 20 easy in any game. So two guys to watch from Lyceum are those two, no? Renzo Navarro and Mac Guadagna. I'm gonna talk about Benilde naman. No? My former student from Xavier, Charles Tiu, is coaching Benilde, and I can't be prouder of Charles. No? He's such a good coach, and he's a good mentor to young players. So I'm excited for the Benilde players as well. No, I'm looking at Will Gozum as one of the
From
guys
UP. Yeah.
to really watch out for on that team. Your former UPIS, I think there was a rumor that he was going to transfer yata to UST before, parang ganyan. Eventually, he transferred to, I think, Mapua ata a couple of
Ah,
seasons
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
But he for me, I think, is going to be the linchpin of this Benil team. And at around 6'6", pretty mobile guy also. So I think he's going to have, he's poised to have a really big, big rookie season at the seniors division for the Blazers. No? And then I guess San Beda would be the obvious choice. Next, like what you said, madaming nawala sa team na to. I mean, you have Calvin Aftana, obviously Evanelli is now with a different team. Kmart Carino also playing
Mm.
now in the B League, no. But I'm excited for this team because they have a lot of homegrown guys that are also coming up the ladder. They're gonna help out, yeah, James Canlas and all the other guys who are coming back for San Beda.
Sally. Isn't he
Yeah,
good in high school?
I'm talking
Yeah.
about Ryan Amsali,
Yeah.
uh, who can be a 20-point scorer as early as
Mm.
this weekend, I think. But apart from him, um, Justin Sanchez, 6'5", long limbs, rebounds like crazy. Gonna be a big player for them also. And my guy, Yukian Andrada, one of our amazing one of the most hardworking guys on that Batangitas team I was with 4 years ago. Yukian is the younger brother of former Green Archer Yukian
UTN.
Andrada. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
and but they have very different skill sets. I mean, UTN specialized in yung mga dukot sa ilalim, obviously protecting the rim. UKN 3-point shooter, 6'5" 3-point shooter. He can finish around the basket, obviously, but his specialty is pick and pop or just leave him outside. He's a space. He's a good floor spacer for this team. So I'm excited for UKN as well. Next would be of course the defending champions. The Letran Knights. Coach Bonnie Tan has some interesting guys coming back. You have 6'7" Jeo Ambohot coming back. Franz Hughes coming back. So it's going to be interesting to see how those veterans can carry this team. But obviously, the biggest name for Letran this coming season is going to be Renz Abando. I mean,
Mhm.
and I think he's going to take the NCAA by storm. I think he's going to be an absolutely dominant player for Letran this coming season. And Coach Bonnie, if you ask him, of course he's gonna say one of the humblest coaches around. No? He's gonna say that they're not the favorites. We're starting from scratch and everything. No?
Mhm.
But honestly, I think they are the favorites still. No,
Same. Yes.
considering everyone that San Beda has lost, Letran I think is still gonna be really, really, really good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you so much, Enzo, and I hope everyone's pumped up and hyped for the college basketball season starting this weekend. And I want to thank you for joining me here again on the podcast for a second time. And before you go, do you have any final words?
Well, just happy that basketball is back and happy for all the sports fans out there. And hopefully, when fans are allowed, we'll see everyone in the games.
Yeah. So before you go, is it okay if we take a picture?
Sure, sure.
Oh, okay. I'll take it from here. One, two, three. Okay. Thank you so much again, Enzo, and happy basketball weekend to all of us.
Yep. Thank you, Diego. Take care.